The vibration of B-2 Spirit stealth bombers over the Iranian plateau in June 2025 signaled the end of a decades-long diplomatic stalemate and the start of Operation Midnight Hammer. This direct military action, involving the first real-world use of heavy GBU-57 bunker busters against the Fordow and Natanz nuclear facilities, has forced the world to confront a reality previously confined to war games. Following the collapse of last-ditch negotiations in Geneva between the Trump administration and Tehran, the United States executed strikes on 3 major atomic centers, citing an imminent nuclear threshold. Today, Iran sits at the center of a volatile geopolitical realignment, where the line between regional deterrence and total war has been crossed. This is no longer a shadow war. It is a direct confrontation with a nation that has spent 40 years preparing for this exact moment. To understand Iran's defiance, one must look past the 1979 revolution to a 2,500-year legacy of cultural synthesis and resistance. Since Indo-European tribes moved to the plateau in 1000 BC, the region has specialized in absorbing foreign invaders rather than being erased by them. However, the modern fracture with the West began in 1953. The CIA-backed coup that toppled the democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, who sought to take control of Iran's oil, remains the psychological cornerstone of Iranian foreign policy. This intervention shifted the social contract from secular nationalism to the clerical-led Shia resistance of the late 20th century. Historically, Iranian leaders relied on the vast networks of the bazaar and the mosque to fund revolutions. Today, that same infrastructure powers a resistance axis designed to keep foreign intervention at the edges of their borders. Current Iranian strategy is built on 3 specific pillars: latent nuclear capacity, ballistic missile dominance, and proxy asymmetric warfare. Because Iran lacks a modern air force due to decades of sanctions, it has shifted to becoming a missile superpower, using these assets as a replacement for conventional air power. The 2025 strikes revealed the mechanical vulnerability of their nuclear infrastructure, yet the regime's deterrence through ambiguities remains. By maintaining the technical knowledge to enrich uranium to 60% and potentially 90%, Tehran creates a strategic shield. Mechanically, the conflict is sustained by the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow maritime choke point where 20% of global oil flows. Iran's ability to disrupt this passage serves as a primary economic weapon capable of driving Brent crude oil prices above $100 per barrel in the event of a sustained naval blockade. The conflict is defined by 2 completely different viewpoints. On one side, the United States and its regional allies maintain that a zero enrichments policy is the only way to prevent a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. They view Iranian nuclear ambitions not as a civilian energy project, but as an existential threat to global stability that provides a nuclear umbrella for state-sponsored militant groups. On the other hand, Tehran views nuclear and missile technology as sovereign rights and non-negotiable pillars of regime security. From their perspective, dismantling these capabilities would not result in peace, but would leave the nation defenseless against foreign-imposed regime change. They argue that previous concessions have never resulted in permanent sanctions, relief, leading them to prioritize strategic patience and hardening their defenses over further diplomatic compromise. Looking forward, the aftermath of Operation Midnight Hammer suggests 3 logical paths. First, an economic shockwave is coming. Analysts at Oxford Economics predict the conflict could last up to 2 months, forcing global markets to deal with long-term energy volatility. Second, the structural damage to Iran's nuclear sites may drive their program even deeper underground, potentially accelerating the move toward weaponization as a final survival move. Finally, regional infrastructure projects like India's Chabahar port face indefinite delays, shifting trade dynamics towards Central Asia. While the United States briefers spoke of a generational shifts in favor of Western interests, the immediate horizon remains defined by Iranian vows of everlasting consequences and a Middle East more militarized than at any point since the 2003 invasion of Iraq.